Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope is the sequel to the surprising success of its predecessor, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. In case you haven't heard of either of the games, let me give a brief rundown of what they're both about. So, the Mario and Rabbids games are turn-based tactical RPGs. Yeah, no, that's about it. Let's get into the actual review. Heads up, this review will have very heavy spoilers as I'm going to be going through the entire plot. You know, like the story. Speaking of the story, okay, so I don't want to go over like every detail in the story, but I'll go over like the important things. And just before we properly start, in case you don't want spoilers, I guess you can skip to this timestamp, the actual review. I don't. This is okay. You're kind of watching the video, but I feel like you'd want to know the story, but that's alright. So the story kicks off after the events of the first game. It seems the rabbits have made like a home. They've stuck around, and you're tasked with returning Rabbid Mario's overalls because the dude is just chilling naked in a bush, I guess. Anyways, it's a bit of like a movement tutorial as this game is kind of more of like a linear open world. Or, well, it's more open than the previous title. After finding and returning Rabbid Mario's overalls, suddenly everything goes wrong as these creatures named the Sparks show up, and with them a giant dark mist manta ray shows up. Now, Rabbid Peach, she's taken due to her incompetence, and this kind of kicks off the combat tutorial, where we are given a quick weapon and like cover tutorial, then a dash tutorial. Now, once we save Rabbid Peach, we're kind of shown that this like dark mess dimension messes with our weapons, and we can't use them here. That is until the Spark that tagged along with us just powers our weapons back up. So this is kind of one of the reasons why we still save and hang out with these ugly, I mean, cute creatures. Aside from saving them from Cursa. Oh, and speaking of Cursa, uh-oh, here they are. It's totally not made extremely clear that Cursa is actually Rosalina. But anyways, before anything bad happens, Rabbid Mario and Luigi save the two heroes in a spaceship that just exists now. We're filled in on the Sparks lore and told that we need to stop Cursa by getting to Cursa's stronghold, which is conveniently very, very far away. But don't worry, if we can gather purified dark mist energy to create wormholes. So we set on our adventure to our first location, Beacon Beach. Beacon Beach does something I actually really like, and that's breaking the traditional level themes games have built. Like, you know, we're getting a cool tropical beach instead of just a green grass world with, well, grass. Anyways, we arrive on this planet and find that it's all dark and gloomy with constant rain, and it's a little bit before we're introduced to a new character named Augie. He's the warden of this planet, and wardens are, or there's a warden on every planet. They're kind of just here to fill in the heroes on, like, what they gotta do. So Augie informs us that a dark mist tentacle is on the lighthouse, and ever since that's shown up, the planet has been caught in a constant rainstorm. It actually doesn't sound that bad, to be honest. But the heroes set on their first mission to destroy the dark mist at the top of the lighthouse. But uh-oh, we can't go there because it needs a light to open the door. And guess what? The new spark we just found that can open the door just flies away! Sorry, almost lost my cool there. Now that we chase after the spark into a temple, we're actually introduced to a new character that the characters don't see, but, you know, we as the player do. And they're not entirely revealed, but that does come into a later point. Back to the actual important stuff that the characters are up to. The heroes chase after the spark, and, you know, there's some fights that happen between there, but then we meet up with the character who was teased earlier. Her name is Edge. She's a rabbit with a sword, which is actually freaking awesome. She looks fairly intimidating, but is actually like really kind as she's able to gain the trust of the Spark. But before we get to leave with the Spark, we gotta fight a boss, because of course we do. Sorry about that. Take down the boss, get some purified darkness energy, and now we have Edge on our team. We set out for the lighthouse. So we begin climbing the lighthouse, and the light spark leaves, because of course it does. Then we take out the tentacle and the sun is restored, because of course it is. But now we get to do side quests, or we could also just head to the next planet onto the frosted peaks of pristine peaks. I just said peaks, like back to back. This time, the darkness has corrupted like a mountain, and it's caused like some kind of like serious snowstorm. But before we go investigate that, we gotta go check out this like weird purple lump sticking out of a tree. It's actually another spark, and this spark doesn't directly help our heroes in combat like the other sparks have, but instead empowers Beepo, which is our companion from the previous game, and he gains the ability of like these like sonic boom shockwaves that can break and push blocks. And that's only in the overworld, so it's not like super useful. It's good for puzzle solving, I guess. But yeah, we gotta go stop that snowstorm. So we climb up the mountain through some caves, and then we go and take on the darkness battle, which, after completing, gives us yet another piece of darkness energy. And now we can travel to this mysterious manor, where we actually now are greeted to the captain's world, Captain Orion. I think I'm saying that right. He mentions this like lost girl he's looking for, and this kind of like spirit within the manor. So he eventually travels with us. He doesn't fight; he's just kind of also there. Once we reach the end of this extremely large building, we are actually greeted by the ghost girl, Midnight. She has taken Rabbid Rosalina, which was the girl Captain Orion was talking about, and looking for, and she has actually encountered Edge before, and it's shown that Edge actually knows Midnight. Anyways, we gotta take her down because she's a part of like something called like the Spark Hunters, I guess. But it's basically it's a group of rabbits that are working with Cursa to bring her all the sparks. And when Cursa gets the sparks, she can harness their energy, and we don't want that to happen because that's no good. Anyways, after we take down Midnight, we get another purified darkness energy crystal, and Rabbid Rosalina joins our party. Now onto the third planet of the game, Palette Prime. Now this world is known for its beauty and color, and the darkness has taken away said colors. We gotta put a stop to that. Now upon a pretty rough landing, we are introduced to the warden of this world, Woodrow. He for some reason has the ability to manipulate outcomes with the use of his poems or something. He personally is my least favorite design of all the wardens. But anyways, we see a darkness tentacle in the middle of the town. We need to investigate it. But of course, the bridge is broken, meaning we have to take the long way around. Of course we do. Sorry, that was a little bit of out of nowhere, but when we take the long way around, we actually meet up with the Light Spark again, who now decides to empower Beepo, and we get the ability to see invisible platforms and objects, which is the second ability Beepo gets. And then when we get to the town, we eventually see Bowser, out of all people, and he's fighting against another Spark Hunter known as Bedrock. Now, Bowser's actually distracted by Mario's sudden appearance, and he gets thrown into the Darkness Tentacle. So we fall off to Bowser, and then eventually give him a weapon that was originally intended for Rabbid Mario, which is actually a really cool detail. I like that they bring that up. But we team up with Bowser, take out the somewhat tedious fight with Bedrock, defeat her, and watch as she escapes using the assistance of another Spark Hunter on another spaceship. Now Bowser unwillingly teams up with our team, because Cursor has taken control of his army, and we are kind of helping him. I mean, he's helping us too, but he just wants his army back, and he's willing to take out Cursa, so it's, again, friendly alliance. Anyways, take out Bedrock, we get the Darkness Crystal, and then we head into the forest to take out the big Darkness Tentacle, which is causing the forest to die. Then we drop into a pit, take out that tentacle, boom, another crystal. On to the next world, Terra Flora. Now this is one of my favorite worlds, because we have to go on a Wiggler train. We also fight a Wiggler at the same time, but I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Anyways, upon arriving to the world, we see that the planet's famous tree is dead with no leaves blossoming. So we're gonna go try to fix that. You've guessed it, we gotta take out a Darkness Tentacle, but after entering the tree and realizing there's no way of getting to it, it seems our progression is blocked by bridges we cannot activate. That's because we need a new ability for Beepo, which we get from a Spark, which is kind of just chilling with the plant's warden. Bia? Yeah, that's her name. Anyways, once we get this new Spark, we can make these like plant bridges using the Sonic Boom, so it's like not a whole new ability, it's just an upgrade. We're going to use that here, but we use a new upgrade to get to the train station, and then we ride along the train to the water volcano spring thing, and along the way we get a really cool battle against the previously mentioned Wiggler in the Darkness Dimension. And that is on the train, and that is one of my favorite fights of the game, but anyways, We get back to taking down the Darkness Tentacle, which gives us a crystal. And then when we finally get to the volcano, which I think it's called like Mount Spout or something, the heroes have to destroy another Darkness Tentacle, which clears up the volcano, and it actually starts watering all the nearby plants. And once we finish that, Bia actually tells us that we need to head to Barrendell Mesa to get the warden there to make us a weapon that'll break the shield surrounding Curse's stronghold. And then we head out. Alright, we're entering then into the game here. On to the next world, Barrendell Mesa. So the intro to this world is all the heroes stupidly jumping out of the ship because the weather conditions are so bad. Once landing somewhere safely, we are greeted by the warden, Mama. We ask her to make us a shield-destroying weapon, and she kind of agrees as long as we repair the windmill causing these bad weather conditions. That's our main goal. Now, on our journey to the windmill, we are frequently contacted by her, giving information and stuff. Now, once we repair the windmill, which, again, we take out a Darkness Tentacle, giving us a crystal, we are contacted by her again, and Beepo states that the radio message sounded a little bit off, but we still head back anyways, and upon arriving there, we are unexpectedly, but still completely expected, the reveal of a new... it was teased back in the third world of the game, but the last Spark Hunter, and it is Daphne, and she is stated to be the worst of the Spark Hunters. But fortunately for them, and unfortunately for us, this isn't the kind of worst that usually helps us. But she still goes down pretty easily. The worst part is when we have to like climb up like the Empire State Building. Other than that, it's pretty easy. You can just really got to get a heavy damage dealer up there, and then she's taken down. But we get the last piece to pure my darkness energy. And then out of nowhere, Cursa just shows up. It's like immediately neglected when Rosalina just like appears, and she's like purified herself and then gives us like an orb to ponder, and then she just disappears. Anyways, we view that orb, get a lot of story information confirming the suspicion that Cursa is an evolution of the Megabug from the previous game that has infected Rosalina and merged the Rabbids with Lumas. Now that that boring story is out of the way, we need to meet back up with Mama, and she gives us the weapon, and we head out. Okay, so I'm starting to think of doing this. The quick retelling of the story was a teensy-weensy bit of a mistake. It's okay. We're near the end. Why stop now? Let's wrap this up. We destroy the barrier surrounding Curse's stronghold. That leaves us with some rubble to travel on because the ship couldn't get us there for plot reasons. We have 2 fights remaining before we take on the big bad. First, we go up against a Dark Mess version of Bowser, which is insanely easy for being a clone version of the King of the Koopas. Janine, forgot to mention her, she's also here now. Kind of just like the good part of the comic relief of Beepo, but yeah, she lets us know that the only reason this copy exists is because the Megabug virus had infected Bowser in the previous game and kept some of his memories. That then leads us to a fight against a Darkness version of Edge, which is unnecessarily difficult for a man who doesn't really strategize in a strategy game. But after that, Janine mentions that the only way a copy like that could exist if the Megabot had controlled its previous host, or, gasp, created them. Wow, who would have guessed that Edge was actually a Spark Hunter? It's not like they hinted at it the entire game, and with Edge's extensive knowledge of the Spark Hunters. Speaking of the Edge fight, there's actually a bunch of statues of the Spark Hunter surrounding the area, with one statue being damaged and unidentifiable, which is likely going to be a future DLC antagonist. But yeah, everyone basically believes that Edge has changed, so after a sob scene where Rabbid Mario tries to make it all about his muscles, the heroes head off and take on Cursa, which is a shockingly easy fight. Like, no one was knocked out. It took a pretty long time. That's not all. After defeating Cursa, Rosalina shows up and helps us take down the remains of the Megabug. And we have a really long phase 2 where we have to charge up these Star Wands. Let's see. 3 times! That's like 9 full turns. Now listen, doesn't sound like a lot. But when you just kind of want the game to end and actually expected it to end after the few turns, it's gonna feel like a lot. But yeah, we managed to take down the Megabug, and then Rosalina offers Rosalina a place to stay, but then she stays at the main cast, and boom, credits. Okay, now that that's all done with, it's a good game. Okay, so now that the lawn video part of the video is done, I get to talk about the stuff I actually liked about the game. In sort of a sporadic way, I'll likely start kind of ramble because I really liked this game. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if you noticed, gonna be using lots of footage of my 100% save, so refighting battles that are gonna be really easy, stuff like that. So yeah, the game itself wasn't too difficult. I only really found myself failing a mission a few times. Like I could probably count it on one hand. And this is maybe because I'm surprisingly good at 99% of the video games I play. It's a good question, and I cannot fully answer that right now. But something I do know is that this game is like legitimately really, really funny at times. Like, I would just be playing a game and a certain cutscene, or even just like interactions, would actually get a laugh out of me. That's not the main attraction of the game, because we're playing a game. Guess that's kind of my job to talk about that. Yeah. So this game is a tactical strategy game, pretty similar to its predecessor, but this time, instead of moving on a grid, you can freely move within an area. But unlike the first game, you can't move after you shoot. So you kind of need to hope that you picked a good position before taking your shot, which sounds really annoying on paper, but actually really grew to like this over the change of the game, the course of the game. It kind of encourages you to have better placement and, more strategy. Some characters actually have upgrades that, differentiate them from the others and allow them to move and kind of negate that whole thing after that. So those two characters are Mario using his jump shot and Rabid Mario with another upgrade I can't remember the name of right now. Now, a part I did find quite lacking in this game was the boss fights. I'm not saying the first game had outstanding boss fights, but then, going into the sequel, I kind of expected more spectacles and more difficulty. There was only one boss I really found difficult, and it wasn't even the final boss, but I was kind of just able to brute force my way through that. I'm not saying that they should have upped the HP and attack stats for the bosses, but I think they should have gotten a little bit more creative with them. Cursor got really close with you basically needing to play as all 9 heroes at once, but they could have expanded on that. Like, why not give us like one big interconnected area and having to manage literally all 9 heroes at once? That would have been a nice challenge and a fitting one for the final boss. But instead, we got 3 separate islands and 3 heroes to control every turn. I'm hoping with the DLC release we'll see an improvement to this, especially the Rayman one, but I highly doubt it due to the way we saw the Donkey Kong DLC in the last game. Let's quickly go back to the gameplay because I really like how they encourage team coordination with, less warp pipes, and you kind of have to use your heroes to cross gaps or get to higher elevation instead of, using warp pipes. And that makes player position certain heroes in specific spots to allow for team jumping. Now this, I find this kind of falls flat later in the adventure, as there are inclusions of jump pads and actually more warp pipes. But either way, it's not just the warp pipes that's a welcoming change. I also like more strategy in my strategy game. But I think it's about time we talk about something, the balancing. I get it. 9 playable characters and several enemies in a game must be pretty hard to balance, but Rabid Mario is completely broken. And I really hope he gets a nerf in the Rayman DLC. Now, I can probably hear you saying, "Oh, Lincoln, just don't use Rabid Mario then." And my counter argument is no. And sure, me arguing that they should change something I don't like but I still use is totally stupid, and I completely agree. Okay, I'm going to be honest, I can't think of a valid argument, but hopefully you can kind of understand what I'm talking about. He has some of the highest damage output in the game and has some of the highest HP in the game, surpassing Bowser of all heroes, and is one of the only classes who doesn't really need to worry about good positioning because he's a melee character who has an upgrade that lets him move after attacking. Okay, it's kind of a lot, and I rambled near the end, but whatever. Speaking of the characters, the character variety is amazing in this game, and I really like the fact that each character has their own weapon and ability, but I'm not a huge fan that they got rid of the second weapon and the second ability. Sure, I guess those are both negated due to the sparks, which I'll get to in a minute here, but I still miss the explosive car that Luigi and Rabbid Peach had, or the hammer that Mario and Rabbid Mario had, and the grenades that Peach and Yoshi had. Wasn't a fan of the rocket launcher, kinda glad that's gone. But yeah, on to the sparks. Yeah, I pretty much can't segue these sections at all anymore. I like the concept of the sparks. being able to take two and put them on whatever character you want is such a cool idea, and the variety of sparks is pretty big too. Sure, there's only like 30, and there are kind of just repeated elemental types, but at least we get different uses of using these elemental effects. Like you have the basic weapon upgrades, then you have the slide ones, and the area effect ones. But we have a few other sparks, such as Screech, which pushes enemies away, or Ethering, which makes the player invisible. And then there's Glitter, which is basically the opposite of Screech and pulls enemies in. Hoping we get something similar to this if we get a third game. And I'm not saying it has to be specifically the sparks, because I feel like that's going to be a whole Sonic and the Wisp situation. Okay, let's try to wrap this up with one more thing. My problem with the story. Now, I'm no story writer. People who read those comics I post online know this. The people still watching my video, listening to my bad scripting, could probably figure it out themselves. But still, there are a few things I would personally change. Make the hinting towards Cursa being Rosalina a lot less obvious. Think having that one cutscene where Cursa absorbs the spark's energy and, we kind of get that like tease be kind of like the only thing, and then just scrap that entire cutscene where Rosalina turns back to normal and gives us the lore dump. Maybe have like main spark deliver that message or something. Now, I get it, it's a kid's game, the story shouldn't be that all in depth, but shut up. What else can I complain about? What else can I comment on? Yeah, let's go with that. I think the plot of the Spark Hunters was a really cool idea and concept, but it's a little upsetting that it was really only told through like one cutscene and then memories. Oh my god, I totally forgot about the memories. There's not much to say about them other than that's where like a lot of like the lore tends to come from. It kind of ties into completion, which is very painful because there are capsules and they're surprisingly hidden for such a simpleton as myself. Then makes me feel stupid once I actually find them. But while we're talking about completion, I did actually enjoy my time completing this game. Sure, those capsules for the planet tokens were painful, but everything else was fun. I really liked those Dark Mist Puddle missions where you were forced to play with two heroes. Sure, it kind of defeated the whole change to allow the player to have whoever they want on the team, but I don't really care. It added some extra difficulty to the game with forcing you to work with two heroes. Now, sure, there were a few I wasn't a fan of, and no, I'm not saying it was because the difficulty is previously stated. I'm good at a lot of games, but I'm saying it's because I think some of them were kind of bland from a gameplay standpoint. Can't remember what mission, but I'm pretty sure you get one where it's Peach and Rabbid Peach, and it kind of forces you to play defensively to get the mission done without any casualties. Yeah, that's about all I have to share on this game. So I'll give it one last rating, which is a 9 out of 10. Now, don't take my opinion as fact, because tactical strategy games aren't for everyone, but if you enjoyed the previous title, I would highly recommend Sparks of Hope. I'm a little bit upset that it took me so long to get this video out, only to end on a 9 out of 10, but whatever. Thanks for watching the video through the rambling of a guy who only really cares about video games. I hope you enjoyed the video, and since it took me so long to make this, they probably have revealed all the DLC, which means I will totally be making a follow-up, but only once all the DLC has been released. So, I've never really done this kind of video before. How am I supposed to end this? Do I kind of just